Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing? Hey Doug, hope you're feeling better. Yeah, much better. I actually got out of quarantine, so yeah, feeling much, much better. Cool that Don's available, bit of an inflection point. His take will be interesting. Yeah, I mean, my take is pretty simple, but yeah, market's in an interesting spot. We'll talk about it. Yeah, there's a bunch to talk about actually. 2 minutes late. Shame. I was 1 minute late, and that was because there was an emergency that I had to take care of, basically. So that 1 minute has to be excused. I hope you excuse it anyway. Before I start, shout out to the sponsor of the show, which is FTX, formerly known as Blockfolio. They have the best spot trading mobile app, I think, that we have in crypto in general. So if you do that at all, you should check it out. Can only recommend it. Their links are in the description, and yeah, I appreciate them supporting us, obviously. Is there any other take that looks like garbage? I mean, there is. We'll talk about it. There is one. Bathroom emergency? No. A friend of mine is in another country and super drunk and was like in the middle of nowhere and was texting me. Didn't find her way back home basically, and had to see if she made it back okay. That was the emergency. So yeah, Duck, do you think liquidity crunch is coming? That can't be good for risk on like crypto, the bear market on the horizon. I don't want to make any of those like grand calls. We'll talk about like the market structure, everything, and then we go from there. So yeah, let's look at Bitcoin real quick. You can ask questions while I'm doing it. I'll answer them afterwards, or try to anyway, if you don't spam the chat too much. So yeah, what happened basically? Bitcoin pulled back 40%, typical kind of thing. And for some reason, everyone that I saw on social media and everyone I interacted with got really, really bearish into like the low 40Ks. And the reason why I wasn't as bearish was because in general, when you see crypto pull back, or like Bitcoin especially, pull back 40%, you just don't want to be too bearish, right? I mean, you see these pullbacks and they're all 40% or like close to it anyway. Like most of these are anyway, right? So like this is like 38 to 40. This is 40, like all of these are 40% pullbacks, right? And when you know that that's an important number in crypto, like almost all of the old guard know that 40% pullbacks are something to usually buy. It's no surprise that we're bouncing, right? And what I'm suspecting is going to happen is basically we're bouncing because a bunch of people are bidding 40% and because the S&P is bouncing, right? Like there's a confluence there. And what's going to happen is like sentiment is going to flip, and I mean the chart still looks really trash, right? And I'm much more bearish now than I was at 40K. It's only 3K difference. Like I told people to not short 39, 40K. If you're shorting here, I mean, be my guest. It's not the worst idea, in my opinion anyway, because what we're basically doing right now is retesting the breakdown level. And yeah, as long as we close below that breakdown level, it's actually more of a short than a long, right? So the only reason why I was like briefly bullish was because I was reasonably certain that one, the S&P would bounce, and two, that people would bid 40% drawdowns. Now that we've bounced a little, and I mean, this could continue for a little bit, right? Even if we go towards 46K, I think it's a better short at that point, right? Like anything above this line, like significantly above 43K, I think is a decent short. So yeah, that's basically my view. We're still trading in the range, right? This is the range. Bounced off of the meme of 40%, rallying into resistance, which is 46K, and that's probably going to reject us, and then we go lower, right? That's kind of my view. I'm bidding 32K big time. I traded some and the low 40Ks, traded around a little bit, maybe a few percent, but nothing major. So yeah, that's that. If we go above 47, right? Like let's say we go above 47, then I think it makes a lot of sense to target 56 to 60K. But only then. Otherwise, and I mean, I made a tweet about this. Otherwise, you either bid a massive, like let's say next week, looks like this. This is something, excuse my drawings. Like let's say we put in a candle like this, right? Next week. That would be a buy, even if it front runs support, I think. And we go back above 47K, that's a buy as well. Right now, like there was a buy to be had in the 40K area. I don't think it's a good buy right now. There you go. Let me see what you guys have written. Do you think the weekly structure is broken? Yes. I mean, it is. Like this is range midpoint, this is range high, this is range low. We're trading below range midpoint after having deviated above range high. Like not being on like leaning bearish, it is just foolish. The thing is like shorting was just super dumb because we always bounce at 40%. Like you don't, like markets don't move like this. Markets move like this, right? And like they don't necessarily, like it's not one line. It's like you have pullbacks, you have like consolidation. Sometimes you even have a move like this and then it keeps on going. You don't move in a straight line. And if you have like a meme like the 40% retrace, like of course people are going to be there and bid it. Like I'd be surprised if there wasn't. Like that would be like a major issue if like people wouldn't bid it. It's just the question of, is that gonna hold? I don't think so. But we'll have to wait and see. For me, it's not necessarily a long anymore. 1 week close about 43K and false breakdown. No. This is still like, this is just the meme neckline, the 43K thing. 46K is the true breakdown. Like that's where it started breaking down. Like we go back above there, then it's a false breakdown. Would you sell 45 to 46K? I mean, I sold 60K, so I don't have to think about it. But yeah, I probably would if I didn't sell. And then like try to reestablish on the other side of it. And like the problem is, right, because we are down 40%. If you're selling 46K, what could happen is that it puts in a candle like this. And then you're sitting there and it's at 54K. And then you're FOMOing and it pulls back and you're in a shitty position. But in general, yeah, that's kind of my plan. That would be my plan if I didn't sell. My plan right now is basically buying above 47 and then buying this. Or if it like, yeah, basically buying now, honestly, like 49, 48, 47 towards 60K. That's my plan right now. Pretty damn straightforward, not too exciting. That's just how trading is, right? If your trading is too exciting, you're doing something wrong. Don Kret's voice is better than you, lol. Love you too, though. Like, what the fuck? Some people are just rude for no reason whatsoever. I mean, Kret's voice is nice. I do agree. But I don't know why you would want to be saying that. Are we going up or retest? So yeah, Bitcoin bounce bottom in, like the title of the video. I don't think so. Like I don't think the bottom's in. Bottom's probably gonna be around 30K. Could I be wrong? Yes, very much so. Like I think there's a good chance that I'm wrong. And the reason why I don't mind that is because I can rebuy 47, 48, 49. And with that, like with that opportunity, right? Like you have a range like this and you fall back below the midpoint and then you reclaim it. It's pretty good. It's basically like a range in itself, right? This is the upper range. This is the lower range. this is deviation. If we deviate the same thing on the bottom side of the range, then you would like, it's very, very arguable that you're gonna range in here. So yeah. Okay. Still not sold on the head and shoulders? No, I mean the head and shoulders, how I trade head and shoulders, and I talked about this at length before. I see a pattern like this. I short towards support or right through support. I don't like normally you take the length of the head and then you project it downwards, and that should be your target, right? Something I never do. I always take profits on the shorts just below the range. The reason for that is that oftentimes, at least in crypto, it turns around, comes back into the range, and then starts bleeding out. So not worth it. Not really a pattern I trade, other than like I trade the pattern before it actually exists, and then take profit once it's actually there, basically. Do you have a short if you think bottom is around 30K, or are you just staying out? I'm just staying out. I'm trying to buy 30K. I don't need to have like negative exposure to crypto. I don't see the point anymore. Like tax-wise, it's really difficult for me to short. But in general, like why would I? If I already have little exposure, right? I sold my Bitcoin, my ETH I'm still holding. Mostly in NFTs, which are actually doing really, really well. Funnily enough, I'm up on this position. Like I bought 2.8K, it's at 3.3, and I'm more than twice. Like I have more than twice of the dollar amount than I had when I bought it. Like bought here, it's basically at the exact same price, and the NFTs are on average up 100%, which is kind of nuts to think about. The NFT market's just been like completely impervious. Is that the word? I think it is a word. I don't know if it's the right word, but it's definitely a word. But yeah, they're immune to like the price movements of Bitcoin and ETH, which is really nice. That's what you want to see in a sector. I still think NFTs are like a joke most of the time, but is what it is. We trade what we're given, and NFTs have been trading much, much better than almost anything else. Wrong word? I mean, that's okay. You got it anyway. Appreciate you, Don. Appreciate you for listening in. Don't use Coinly or other tax software to sort that issue for you. Wire shorts a tax issue for you. So in some countries, especially especially in mine, when you trade leverage, taxes get calculated differently, in the sense that if you have wins, like let's say you trade around in a year, right? And you make $1 million profit, and then you lose 500K, right? In most countries, you would just pay 500K. Like you have basically winnings at the end of 500K, and you pay taxes on those, right? In the country where I'm from, which is Germany, if you trade on derivatives, if you make $1 million and then lose 500K, what you basically have to do is you have to pay taxes on the million, and the 500K you cannot really subtract. So what you're doing is you basically, and given taxes are quite high here, you're basically taxed almost like around 40%. You basically have like, you're starting to lose money in that instance, or like getting really close to it anyway. So like if you calculate that upwards, any kind of normal trader has wins and losses, and if you cannot subtract the losses from the wins, you just go broke, right? You would have to be the best trader in the world. And the funny thing is, like, most Germans actually don't know this, and yeah, they're gonna get fucked by tax authorities if they're unlucky. So, yep. So you're basically fucked, is what I'm saying. Like if you're leverage trading in Germany, good luck. unless you're trading very, very low size, because there's like a cutoff, like 10K or something is stuff that you can subtract. But the moment you go into like the six figures, it's already really shit. So can't recommend it, and that's why like I usually don't. I've taken a few shorts anyway. The ones that I was like almost 100% certain were gonna play out, but I usually tend to stay away. They changed it to 20K, yeah, but I mean, even if it's 20K, it's zero impact. So yeah, is that tax on unrealized gains? No. It's you basically cannot subtract losses from your gains. Like you don't have to pay taxes on unrealized stuff, but you cannot subtract stuff from your winnings. So yeah. Anyway, I don't think anyone cares about it, unless like other than the Germans in the chat that might freak out when they hear it because they haven't even thought about it yet. What a dumb tax rule in Belgium. If you hold, you don't even have to pay taxes. If you hold in Germany, you don't have to pay taxes as well. It's just when you trade on derivatives where it gets really difficult. If you trade spot, you're fine as well. There's no problem there. It's just the derivative side of things that fucks you. But you have gains if your short is successful. Yeah, but I mean, if you're trading around, like if I'm shorting this and I'm wrong, and then I have losses, and I cannot like subtract them from my gains, like it's just, if you're trading a decent amount, like it's never gonna work. Anyway, so yeah, that's like my Bitcoin view is like muted. I gotta say though, like this is a situation that basically reminds me of 2018. Like I called this, like I had a good feeling that we're gonna bottom in the 40Ks for like short term. You could see it, like I can show you like how this works when I'm tweeting, right? So for the people that care anyway. So I tweet stuff, right? And this is like, okay, you stay alive, blah, blah, blah. I'm saying like agonizing range, right? And then when my mood kind of shifts and when I'm like starting to turn bullish or like starting to think, okay, it's getting like ridiculous, you can see that like words like buy show up more and more, right? Like you can see 3 times I wrote buy in this. Like there's 3 scenarios and it's only buy scenarios. And then this is also bullish themed tweet. This one's also like all of these, right? And this is how like I usually kind of see, okay, how is the sentiment going, right? Like how is the sentiment in the market? You kind of just test the waters, see like how people react to your tweets, and then you can kind of go from there. It's usually like a good indication. But yeah, like all of like the last 15, 20 days, like more bearish than bullish, and then you flip bullish and you see, okay, how do people react? And people actually like, I don't know why, people really flip bearish in the 40Ks. And then you kind of like take a counter trend trade, and take it into resistance. And what happened in 2018 when I was trading this, right? Every single time was that I nailed the bottoms, right? I bought pretty much all of these bottoms, but I sold too early, right? Because I always underestimated the strength of like bounces in bear markets, right? And I think we're pretty much like, this is bearish range right now. So we're probably going to trade the same way. And I could see myself underestimating this bounce, right? So like this bounce could go to 46. And I'm already starting to turn bearish at 43. That kind of stuff, very, very likely, is something that I've tried to work on. It's just when you're too bullish, like when you're too bullish in a bearish market, you get fucked as well. So it's like a very delicate kind of way to go through the market that you have to kind of pick. And for me, what I usually try to do is like, I take it into first resistance and then short the second one. Like I said, I'm not going to short anymore. But yeah, like the longs that I'm taking on at 40K, I would sell at 43, and then at 46K, that's where I usually would short. I'm not doing it though anymore. So there you go. That's kind of like my plan, and then you target down here. Twitter trolling. Yeah, this one is fucking hilarious. This actually, I posted this one. Still taking the gift of ETH at 4K if it gets back there. I'm gonna have to sell a bunch of NFTs for that, and I'm not entirely sure if I actually want to sell NFTs. Like, that's the thing, right? It's such a weird market right now. Like, I think like if ETH goes to 3.9K, it's the best sell that you're ever gonna get. But I'm not entirely sure if I want to sell my ETH because I'm not sure even if the market tops if NFTs are gonna top. So yeah, what I usually would do if I could still short, I would sell 3.9K, stop loss above the highest, target 2K. Short exactly as much ETH as I'm holding in NFTs. That's how I would usually do it. Nowadays, I'm kind of struggling. I'm probably just going to sit in ETH and see it go to 2K. Why not scale out then into profit? Because if I think they can go up 10x, why would I sell after 2x? Dude, update your Windows to 11. I have Windows 11 on my laptop and I fucking hate it. So, no thanks. I moved to Germany 2 months ago. Yeah, good luck, my friend. Leverage trading is not the place to be. So you're looking for 30K Bitcoin rather than new all-time high? Yes, I'm looking for 30K Bitcoin, and then my trade idea that I have is buying 30K, selling 40, 45-ish. So like I'm trying to get this from the X towards here. And then maybe if it reacts, like how I could see this play out, right? Like I could see it play out like this and then do like the inverse meme. And if it's bullish there, I'm just gonna rebuy again. But like this is the leg that I want to catch. Now I'm not entirely sure if I'm gonna get it. Like this 30%-ish bounce. Not entirely sure if I'm gonna get it. Not entirely sure if we're gonna break down. That's why I'm saying like if there's strength, like if strength returns, I'm fine with buying 47K or like above. It's just like, this is not strength, right? It's the funny thing. People were like rightfully saying it's bearish at 40K. It's just what they tend to do is like they're going to be bearish at 40K, see the weekly chart, be like, okay, this weekly is super bearish, and then not realize that it could easily bounce to resistance and then wick back down again and still be bearish, right? Wow, Don unintentionally set up the fib. Yeah, fuck the fib. But yeah, that's kind of my plan anyway. Still, Germany is pretty crypto friendly in tax terms. All gains above 1 year are tax free. Yep. That is like one of the best things that you have in Germany. So if you're holding Bitcoin for a year, you don't have to pay taxes. It's like really, really nice for me last year. Like 2021, I'm actually going to be pretty damn good on taxes in comparison to almost all the other years. So yeah, Cred has whole new watchlist style. You're becoming boomer. I mean, there's this one, and I have threats ones as well. It's just like I don't necessarily go through too many altcoins. I don't like this one because it's the reason why I don't use this is because there's not any Bitcoin pairs in there, and I find like the USD pairs pretty damn useless. Other than like finding low time frame entries and stuff, because like why would I be buying an altcoin that's gonna underperform the Bitcoin pair? It just doesn't make any sense. Like if I'm gonna be bullish on anything, it has to be bullish against Bitcoin or like even against ETH, right? I'm fine with ETH pairs as well. I just don't get the USD pairs. Any idea if in 2022 we will see an all-time high range lower than 30K? I think we could see all of it. We could see all of it. Like I could see this. And then what? Like it's just sitting there, it's boring. Like I could legitimately see stuff like this. So I think it's gonna be if the traditional markets don't go completely crazy, it's going to be a boring year. Now, what we've been having is that the S&P largely influences the market, and yeah, that's makes trading a little bit more difficult. What we're doing right now on the S&P is basically the same thing that we've been doing on Bitcoin. Like we had a range, a range breakout, right? This being the range. Pretty nice retest in here as well, and it's retesting resistance right now. So we'll see how that plays out in the next 2 days. Then again, like I don't want to be bearish this. I tweeted about this like this tweet. Still thinking shorting is retarded. You're basically gambling on the stock market collapsing, which you can do, but I'd rather not. And then like the stock market mega bounced. And this is like an up only market for now anyway. So it's pretty damn tough to call the top on this. But like chart wise, like risking off here makes sense. And then waiting for the weekly close. Little Bitcoin pairs, yeah. People meme it all the time, but they don't really understand like where it's coming from, right? Because the Bitcoin pair is gonna be up. Like for the stuff, right? Near Bitcoin, for example, right? This is a clean uptrend, right? And then it's like people insist on the USD pair, and I mean that's fine as well. Like I said, for lower time frame entries, this is fine, but like this doesn't really help. Like this is a nice like entry down here. It's a nice support resistance play, but I want to know how the trend looks like, right? Because ADA USD or something, you look at this, I mean like, okay, this is just down in general here. It's been up the entire time, but it's down. Like, what do you want to do with this? Is this weakness because people are selling ADA? Is this weakness because Bitcoin is going down? You don't necessarily know. So you look at the BTC pair and you're like, okay, this is like weakness on ADA's behalf and it's actually making new lows. And then you know, okay, this is not necessarily one of the altcoins you want to trade. And then you look at the ADA USD pair and you're like, okay, this is at support. I want to buy the support. And that's fine, right? But it's not like a longer term trade that you want to take, because there's other coins that behave much stronger, and you're only ever going to see that on the Bitcoin pairs or on the ETH pairs. Both work. Have you ever traded Forex? Would you recommend it? Can you make consistent profits? I would not recommend it. I think most people that like post about it are just trying to sell you something, and it's not worth it. Like the market is like just all over the place. Like if you don't have an edge other than TA, I wouldn't recommend it. It's weird, but like all the people on crypto Twitter that came from Forex, weirdly enough, have a paid group. Like ask yourself why. Why do they have it? That cursed image at the top right when you switch to your Twitter profile, yeah, fucking hilarious. So funny. So that's that. So yeah, Bitcoin pretty clear, rallying into resistance. I don't think the bottom's in. I think there's good chance that we bounce another 10%. More than that, I'd be surprised. ETH actually putting in a nice bounce, rallying into resistance right now. I want to see this close above resistance. It's some nice strength today, honestly, and yesterday as well. But it needs to get back into, like back above, yeah. And if it does, it actually looks really nice, because this would be a fake out, like a fake breakout, fake breakdown into the range. If it gets rejected here, it looks really bad. So better stay green. If it turns red, if this candle turns red, like ETH's fucked, I think. So be a little bit cautious on this front. The only reason why I'm like still holding it is because, like I said, illiquid NFTs, don't want to sell those. And maybe we get to sell into 3.9k. If we get like an NFT season in the next 2 or 3 weeks, excuse me, if we get like an NFT season in the next 3 to 4 weeks, I'm gonna sell NFTs into ETH and ETH into USD. Because then ETH would bounce like this. And then that would be a nice sell. But yeah, kind of looking for that. Like this would not surprise me one bit. People always get too bearish at support and then too bullish into the bounce. And that's what I think is going to play out. When upside down or sideways profile pick, I mean, those days, yeah, it's not going to happen again. I mean, I'm way beyond proving myself on Twitter. I used to do it. I used to love the attention it got. And I don't really give a shit anymore. Like the cloud stuff, like who cares? I think I've grown beyond it as a person. I hope anyway. I mean, you can just listen to my opinion, right? And then you know what I'm saying. You don't have to have like a profile pic turned one way or the other. Can you please do TA on lower time frames? I mean, what I've been doing like is trading. I actually traded the lower time frames a little bit. So this is ETH. I was like, I did not trade this, but this was ETH. So basically what happened, right, is we had this inverse head and shoulders. And we broke down here and then momentum started fading, right? And the stuff that you look for in these like counter trend or like downtrend markets is basically, you always look for this kind of setup, right? Always. This is the one setup that plays out the most when stuff is trending downwards. Is like you get like the market crashes down, makes a base, undercuts the base, and then when you see that the breakdown after this base, right, after this like sideways period, is not really aggressive and is starting to get bought back up, and how you can see that is basically this went down like 1% or 2%, broke the low and didn't really sell off, right? When you see that, there's a good chance that you're gonna see like a rally back into that area. And what I was basically looking for, it broke down. I saw that it wasn't really breaking down massively, and then I switched over to S&P lower time frames, and I saw that the S&P was basically doing the same thing but sold off. And when you see that, like when you see that difference, like the Bitcoin actually holding strong while the S&P is selling off, you know that there's a bunch of apes trying to copy trade the S&P, making a bunch of money, leverage shorting into the low. And that there's apparently some guy sitting there happily taking the Bitcoin off of that like panic seller basically, or like that SPX copy trader guy. And when you see that, like there's almost always going to be a squeeze. So like I traded that leg from here into somewhere in here, and then was just like, okay, not really acting how I wanted it to. It went higher and then broke back down, and then I did basically the same thing again in here and sold in here. So not even close to where price is right now, because seeing the same thing again. Like this is how you trade the lower time frames. Obviously, sometimes the trade afterwards doesn't go your way. Like I could have held this trade longer, and I could see this go to 46K, and then like people would rage because they sold their 41K position into like 42, 43, instead of holding to 46. But I mean, that's just trading, right? So like you don't necessarily have to like draw too many lines in low time frames. I mean, you can just draw this basically, and that's more than enough, right? And then you look at the strength of the S&P. You think a little bit, okay, who's overexposing more? How low are we? Like when you have like a market that goes down 40%, you just look for an excuse for it to pump, right? In crypto anyway. Different in other markets, right? But like knowing all that, right? You know, okay, 40% down is usually something that is bid. You know, okay, this breakdown was shallow. You know that this one basically SFP this entire breakdown and then had like a massive upwards candle. You can take trades like that if you want to, but I usually don't. I was just bored basically. Took a little bit of a stab twice. Made like 5% in total. I could have just held this trade and I would have made 5% in that trade alone, right? But I don't really give a shit. So yeah, I mean that's just like the low time frame stuff, but I don't really care to hold these. Like when you trade low time frames, you don't have to hold. It's more important to kind of nail the weekly, and because like I just showed you like a couple of 5% moves, this is a 40% move, and this to the upside is like 130% move. So you can kind of guess like why I'm taking trades on these time frames, because I don't want to reposition every other hour. It's not for me. Like I'd much rather take the 100% trade than the 5% trade, even knowing that it's gonna take longer. I'm fine with waiting, but I'm not fine with like having to sit at the computer all day. Death cross, yeah, there's a death cross coming in. I don't think it's too. It's like adds anything to my analysis. It's basically I don't know where death crosses, but I think like somewhere in this region as well, which is resistance for me. So yeah. You think we can form a possible strong cup and handle on the lower time frames? I don't really trade any chart patterns. The only reason why I mention the head and shoulders too much, like that much, is because it's not because of the head and shoulders. It's just like the easiest way to explain it, right? But this is essentially a range, right? You have a range here, and this is range overthrow. And what's the best place to short on a range overthrow? It's at the range high towards the range low. It's not because this is head and shoulders, this is like whatever garbage. No, it's because like this just makes sense, right? You had a bunch of people trying to buy the breakout. They got completely rinsed. Everyone that kind of did that is trying to get out of their position. And if they're still holding on, they're going to get out of their position at the range high. Instead of saying, okay, this is a head and shoulders pattern and what's the reason for it playing out? Like that is the actual reason why I'm looking at it. And then if you look at the cup and handle, the reason why people say this breaks out, right, is because this is like a resistance that gets tested once, twice, 3 times. So basically all the cup and handle says with a higher low. All that cup and handle tells you is basically you had 3 tests of resistance, or like the same thing obviously on like the other side of things. Like in the inverse, you had 3 tests of support, that's likely gonna break, right? So like, yeah, you can say, okay, this is a cup and handle, but like you can also say this is just a higher low with a multiple resistance touches. It makes much more sense to me to explain it that way. But yeah, I don't look at these too much, because like when you have these kind of setups, yeah, you could long the resistance, but I don't like I don't like doing that. It's easy to just run the resistances and then break down, and the opposite as well, right? Like this runs through support and comes back up. It's like a head and shoulders. This is basically playing the head and shoulders in its intended way, right? You short here, targeting all the way down here. Definitely not my trade. I don't want to short into support. Like, why would I want to do that? It's likely to break down, yeah, but it's also very likely to just come back up again. Like the breakdown, like if you short below the support, that's fine by me. If you hold it for like the full target, I don't get it. And it's the same with the cup and handle. Pattern trading by Donald. Yeah, but I mean, that's just how crypto trades. If it, like other markets might trade differently, but I don't really think like being the textbook kind of guy in crypto does you any favors. Do you find the cloud useful? If not, what are your favorite indicators? I don't really use any indicators other than funding indicators, and yeah, that's mostly it, really. Like, I don't think most of the indicators are completely garbage to me anyway. But if you have an edge in those, just try them. See if you can like build a trading formula out of it. But I don't think, like, I think you're wasting your time basically. Okay. And a bunch of people are asking for like their favorite indicators. I mean, the thing is, like, you can make something like, there's reasons why some of these work, right? Like, the reason why I'm not saying, okay, pattern trading is stupid is because exactly that, right? Like, you get a cup and handle. There's a reason why people say this breaks upwards. It's because like resistance been tested 3 times. Like, all the sellers in that area are probably exhausted by then, and you get a breakout. Now, like, the target stuff for this kind of stuff is usually wrong, because it usually just like fucks off and kind of rolls everyone that is like pattern trading. But like, there's a reason why people believe this works. It's just not the reason that they tell themselves, because yeah, they say, okay, there's a cup and handle. That's why it has to go up. I'm saying it's a resistance that's been tested a couple times. So, and it's the same with indicators, right? If you draw like 10 moving averages, they're gonna touch like price, and price is gonna bounce from it. Now, is that because there was a moving average, or is that because the moving averages are all over the place? Because I can draw 500 moving averages, and they're gonna touch every single line here. So it's like the indicator stuff, it's really hard to figure out if it works at all, or if it's just random chance. Josh is not gonna be happy with you, Duck. I mean, he makes it work, right, for his trading style. So I mean, I'm not gonna shit talk anyone that makes it work. I'm just saying, like, I don't see the point. Okay, so yeah, 30k support. That's what you have to remind. Like, that's what you have to remember. If you're selling at 30k, you're an idiot. I thought, like, I tweeted that 40k selling was also idiotic. I still stand by that. 43k, different story. 46k, very, very different story. ETH BTC, we talked about. ETH USD, we talked about. Zcash, actually hilariously bearish still. I mean, people never learn their lesson. Is there anything? Atom is actually something I wanted to talk about. Where is it? There it is. Atom actually gave the bull setup that we wanted. Closed above resistance and has been up only since then. So yeah, it's a nice breakout, 20% gain on Atom. We discussed that like a week or 2 weeks ago. Also played out on the USD pair, right? Like, touched support, like we kind of talked about, this inverse head and shoulders garbage pattern that seems to work sometimes. It's up 29 to 30%. I personally didn't buy it because I've been mainly focused on the NFT trading side of things. But I mean, if you did, congrats. That was like a really nice setup that we've kept on mentioning, both in the newsletter and on the stream. So yeah, Atom's pretty nice. With regards to targets, no fucking idea. Like, right, this is gonna do like price exploration if Bitcoin doesn't fuck off. And even if Bitcoin goes down, there's a chance that this goes and just makes new all-time highs. So basically, this is like a trend now. And if you got anywhere anywhere close towards like $30, I think that's basically where you can exit again. Like, if it does the round trip, it does the round trip. But I think like if you got into the position, you just hold it. Unless it comes back to your entry. If it comes back to your entry, you're just wrong. And it's gonna roll over most likely. XTC actually still one that I'm looking at. Still looking for an entry. I said, if Bitcoin wipes out, I want to see like this massive candle to the downside. Actually didn't play out. Like, we just got like a tiny one. Still the same setup, right? Like, this is like a fractal setup. I'm actually still looking for an entry on this. I'm just not entirely sure like if Bitcoin is going to leave it enough room. But then again, like I said earlier, like counter trend rallies usually surprise me because they go higher than I expect them to. So I could see the setup still play out. This is one of the ones where I'm just sitting there with like a trigger finger. I actually want to buy some Tezos NFTs, as stupid as it sounds. So that's why I want to buy some. And then just hope the Tezos appreciates while the NFTs on the platform appreciate as well. But no, haven't pulled the trigger, but this is one of the ones that I'm watching as well. Because like the NFT angle is just a hot one right now. I think there's like one to watch. And then, I mean, Nia we wrote about on the newsletter, and it's just been going completely nuts. So also winner, but really difficult to trade this one because like your stop loss just like miles away. But yeah, I think those were the 3 altcoins that we mentioned in the newsletter, and all of them. I mean, XTC isn't up, but it's not really down either. So yeah, all of them went up. Change to dark? Fuck no. People always ask me this. I hate the dark stuff. When YouTuber clickbait top 10 shitcoins for 2022, I could actually do that. But then again, like I mentioned, like at least 2 of them. Wi-Fi, yeah. Wi-Fi is actually an interesting one as well. That's one that I wanna. Didn't mention this on the newsletter. This is one that I actually, when I streamed or like did the spaces from Africa, this is one that I mentioned at the support, and I was like, okay, this is an interesting one. Still think that this had 1 push, 2 pushes. I think there's a good chance that it pushes again against Bitcoin. So Wi-Fi also one that I'm watching, but not as closely as the other ones. So yeah. Thoughts on RSI and OBV are overrated, both of them. You sold your XTC, which Cred told you not to buy in the first place. I didn't buy XTC in the first place. I looked for an entry on XTC. And I'm still looking for one. I'm trying to get in. I'm just trying to get in at a good price. For the people that have been following for a while, I actually bought XTC. I don't remember if it was in here or in here. On that breakout, made like a nice, like, let's go like calculate from the worst point. I don't remember where it exactly was. Made like a nice 40% gain against Bitcoin, and then round tripped it all the way back towards like just before my entry. So yeah, I've bought and sold this before with a minor win. So it could happen again, but yeah, I wanna buy this one just for like. I'm probably gonna buy it and put it all, like everything I'm buying on XTC in NFTs, and then lose it all. But that'd be fine. Where can you buy NFTs from XTC? I mean, I could stream about it, but I don't think like more than 5 people care. Don waiting for me to sell my XTC to buy. No, not really, man. Not really. I mean, I think it's an interesting play just based on the fact that it's like, yeah, it's like a laggard play, which I usually don't like. But it's an interesting one because there's like a whole NFT angle and the whole layer 1 angle. Would be awesome. We do. Oh, I mean, if there's like more than 5 people that want to see that, I could show you around on the XTC blockchain. But then again, I think most people wouldn't give a shit. So maybe I do that on like my Twitch channel or something at some point. I'll tweet about it if I do. I just joined. So is the bottom in done? I don't think so. My thinking is. Complacency bounce into 30k, and if I'm wrong, bullish above 47. What about the monthly chart? The monthly chart's actually interesting because we are at support. So like if we don't do shit this entire month, I'm actually gonna think that the sell-off is over. So this is actually one that you wanna watch. So like for the people that like go through the trouble of looking at the monthly chart. If, and this is big if we close above 46.5 this month, I think we're just gonna do the higher low meme, and maybe, which would be hilarious by the way, we break the range and then just come back down again. But I think at that point, like if we close above 46, 47, I think at that point you have to position yourself bullishly, and I'm gonna do that. Like I'm gonna buy back the Bitcoin I sold at 60k or like 59 point something. At 47, 48 to go for like 70, 75 ish. So yeah, if the monthly chart, good question for the guy that asked. If we close green and above resistance, I think you're gonna have to switch your bias bullishly and look for buys. Soul NFTs, nah. I'm not really interested. I like ETH NFTs the most. Any tips for scalps? I told you some earlier with like the S&P stuff, but I'm not really a big scalper, so. Don, what are your thoughts on liquidity moving out of altcoins to Bitcoin? Is that ever going to happen again? Since beginning of 2021, every Bitcoin bounce has been faded by bigger moves into alts when Bitcoin led rally. I think there's a chance for it if we close the monthly above 47. But then again, like in general, you don't want to bet on it. Like trends usually maintain themselves for a while, and it's a trend that if Bitcoin goes up, altcoins go up higher. So you don't want to fade that until it breaks, right? Like if you get a big Bitcoin move and altcoins start dumping, then you could say, okay, this is like where the trend failed, the trend of like altcoins just outperforming Bitcoin, and then you can start fading it. But you don't need to do it before the trend has actually failed. So yeah, I think that's more than plenty. With regards to altcoins, someone asked for Curve. Curve is actually something that Ledger has been haunting me about. He's been like very, very bullish on it. And I mean, he's been right. Like basically Curve broke out. Right now, I mean, this is one of these setups that I usually take a short on, right? I'm not gonna like, I'm not even interested in that, but like you don't want to be longing into resistance like this. If anything, like the breakdown towards like 8.5 would be like an interesting buy. And if you invalidate this, obviously also an interesting buy if you're bullish on it. It's not one of the ones that I would trade, right? Like you look at this chart and you're like, okay, what am I gonna do with this? You can like, if you really want to be bullish Curve, you just wait for the breakout above this green line starts looking good. But I don't need to get myself involved. I like other setups better. Atom has been really nice, and a bunch of other ones that I shared earlier have been also really nice. What collections on ETH you like the most? What are you going to buy? I have like the only official wallet that I have that I'm willing to dox is my a portion of the WOSIs that I have. So I have like on one wallet I have a bunch of WOSIs, so like the Loom Lock project. That's because like one, I'm sitting on the board of that project and Loom's a good friend and I think they can go somewhere. So that's why I have a bunch of them. I have a bunch more in another wallet and I have a bunch of other NFTs as well. But I don't want to talk, like I don't want to, the reason why I don't like tweet about NFTs or talk about NFTs is because like the liquidity there is so thin. Like I tweet about or like talk about any of these, I'm just going to pump my backs. And the thing is, for most, like you have NFTs, right? And I don't know if everyone else does the same thing, but like I buy a bunch and then I set a bunch of cells like at a 2x and then at a 3x and then at a 10x, right? So if I shield you an NFT, there's almost no chance that you're gonna buy it without selling, like without buying from me, because I'm selling you some at like higher prices. So I don't want to shill anything where I have cells and I have cells on every single NFT that I own. So it's like, if I shill you something on the NFT front, I would shill right into my cells. And that's just not something I'm going to do. So that's why like I can mention that I'm interested in NFTs, that I'm trading them, but I don't want to mention any projects, any like I said, WOSIs are one of the exceptions because I mean, there's a doxed wallet from me where I hold like fucking 6 figures of that shit. Yeah, but yeah, I don't wanna have you guys buy into my sales. It's not something I want to do. So NFT only speculation and that's it. Yeah, like NFTs are completely speculation for me, but it's like the market is moving the best. Altcoins are the same for me. Altcoins are only speculation as well. The only reason why we want to buy any altcoin is for speculation purposes. So yeah, I think like I think that makes it very obvious why I'm like not tweeting about NFTs too much. Like I tweet about the general market, but I'm like, imagine me tweeting about like NFTs and just sitting there seeing my fucking NFTs get like bought. Like how fucked up is that? Imagine that. Like you shield something and tweet it like and sell at the same time. Even if it's just like 10% or whatever you sell, it's like fucked up, I think. Looks, yeah, Looks is like an NFT. For the people that don't know, Looks is like an NFT platform. I actually was in Africa when like people got allocations, and I didn't get any. And the influencer allocations are quite like substantial in that one. Like almost everyone that you know on Twitter has a stake in Looks, and quite substantially so. It's up more than 10x from where they got in. And I still think it's like a decent bet. I got a bunch, like because I'm trading NFTs, I got a little bit of an airdrop. Not too substantial, but like I didn't sell a single one. I staked them all, and I'm just gonna leave them for quite a while. So for the people that are wondering, yeah, I still hold mine, and I'm not gonna sell it. But I don't hold much, and I'm not one of the influencers that got any allocation. So. You could rename yourself to Don SZ, and then I could do it. Yeah, I mean, maybe. Already interested in FTT or still in the middle of nothing? I remember, was it you that asked like 4 or 5 streams ago? I don't remember. Do you guys, like, look at this. Someone asked, this is nice that's still on there. Someone asked me about FTT up here, and I was like, this is just boring. Like, you don't want to buy this. And it's been chopping around since, right? Like, literally the last 77 days since, or like, I think it was even in here. It's just been like choppy, and it went down for a while. It actually followed the arrow quite nicely. It didn't just, like, it didn't do the wipeout part. But this is still the exact same deal, right? Like now it's like this. It's still the same thing. You want to buy above here or below here. Still exact same setup. It's just not following the lines, but nothing's changed. So yeah, this is in the middle of nowhere. I just got short Looks. I mean, the thing is, like, people are up a shitload. But yeah, I don't see the point. I'm staking it. Jesus Christ, you have to go so low time frame. So there's quite a bit of volatility there. And I was actually thinking of buying some more. Like I saw it start dropping. I was like, if it's like down low when I wake up, I'm just gonna buy a bunch and then stake that. And I woke up basically when it was actually starting to go back up again. So didn't get to. But yeah, like TA wise, there's not that much to do here, I feel like. And I wouldn't want to fade this. Because the thing is, if it works out, like the reason why I'm holding this, right? It's like basically the chance of it working out is slim but decent. If it works out, even with all the influencers on board, this can easily 10 to 100x, right? So like if it steals any substantial market cap from, or like any market share from OpenSea, it can easily still go 10x. or like even more than that. So like for me, I like have like my airdrop, which like, I mean, it's not that much, but it's a few figures, and I'm willing to stake that. And if it goes to zero, it goes to zero, and if it doesn't, nice. So yeah. This is true. The target can be the OpenSea valuation. That's the thing, right? Like this can go completely nuts. It's a very. I mean, I get why all the influencers are basically in it. I don't like that everyone has like a big allocation. Their stuff unlocks in 6 months, so it's gonna be interesting to see what happens then, because this is basically one of the ones where almost every influencer got in. Um, Usually VCs, right? They buy and they get like these kind of deals where they're like up immediately 10 to 100x. The influencers usually don't, right? So I think like the moment it unlocks this time around, like the influencers are gonna dump a shitload of tokens, but that's in 6 months. So until then, I think price action just could go up. I don't like, I wouldn't want to fade it. If anything, like if this dumps low, I'm gonna buy. One of the more interesting plays, because the thing is, all of these coins, they don't really do shit, right? But this one actually gives you a stake in the whole thing, so it's pretty nice. Like they build it in a nice way. I wouldn't want to fade it. I don't see the point. So yeah, that's that. Went off the rails a little bit, and kind of talked about stuff that we usually don't talk about. So I don't know if that was at all interesting for you guys. But yeah, appreciate you guys coming by. Appreciate the sponsor of the show, which is FTX, formerly known as Blockfolio. Really appreciate their support. If you want to check them out, check out the links in the description. And yeah, as always, thanks for coming by. Thanks for hanging out. And yeah, see you guys on Friday-ish. We're going to release like a podcast on Friday, actually. If everything goes to plan, we're going to have Avi from Block Tower again, which is going to be really nice. He was pretty spot on the last time he was on the podcast. It's going to be interesting to see what he has to say about the markets. So yeah, I can only recommend you guys checking that out once it actually comes out, which is going to be hopefully Friday, if nothing goes wrong. Like with these podcasts, stuff goes wrong all the time. Like the market moves 15% and then you like every single podcast guest just cancels because they have better things to do. But yeah, it's going to be a good one. So yeah, looking forward to that. Appreciate you guys coming by. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.